Hello, my name is Nick Mikhailov, and here's my presentation on the Internet of Things. So let's dive in. So basically what I want to do with this video is answer the following questions. So I'll give an explanation of what the Internet of Things is. I'll give a couple examples of products and systems included in the Internet of Things. We'll talk about what the Internet of Things looks like today and how it affects our lives. And then lastly, we'll cover what the future of the Internet of Things looks like, and then a quick recap and summary. So, what is the Internet of Things? The definition I have here is that essentially the Internet of Things is the collection of all devices with an on and off switch to the Internet. The Internet of Things is a network of devices and people interconnected through the Internet. So people are included in this because we can also access the Internet and share and transmit data wirelessly through the Internet. And so all these devices that are being developed and that have already been developed and people are considered part of the Internet of Things. So some implications of the Internet of Things. First is global connection, then we have cross-device communication, and lastly the seamless integration of technology. And I'll touch on all of these later on in the video. First though, I would like to give a brief history of the Internet of Things. So the first device that is really considered to be part of the Internet of Things is the ATM, which was first installed in London in 1976. Obviously, it has been developed and has come a long way since its origins, but ultimately at the core of it, an ATM can access your bank account information wirelessly through your card that you insert into the machine, and from there it can figure out exactly how much funds you have and what's available to be drawn out and what is not available. Then in 1983, we have the development and use of the internet by an increasing number of people. Then in 1993, we have the introduction of GPS mapping systems. So things like the TomTom and a Garmin are two things that can basically access the maps wirelessly through the internet. Then in 1999 we see the first use of the actual words Internet of Things, although the concept had been around for almost 20 years. And then up until 2013 we saw sort of a slow growth in products connected to the Internet of Things. We only have 11 billion in 2013, but we can see that only in 2020, so only 7 years after that, it is going to be an estimated 50 billion devices connected to the Internet and this Internet of Things. So now I'd like to move on to some products that are included in the Internet of Things. And the first one I'll talk about is the Nest thermostat. This really speaks to the idea of smart homes where multiple devices inside your home are connected and can communicate with each other wirelessly through the Internet. So the Nest thermostat has the ability to be controlled from your smartphone, which right away to me this says that I can change the temperature of my house when I'm not even home. And also the Nest knows when you leave because it knows that your phone is no longer in the home, and so it'll automatically turn itself down to save some energy and save money as well when nobody's home. And then also what's really cool is that this allows for individual room control. So if you know you're going to be cooking one night, you might want to set your kitchen to a lower temperature because the oven's going to be putting out a lot of heat as well. Or if you have a lot of people over, you're having a party or you're watching a movie in the living room, you can turn the temperature of that down as well because you know there'll be a lot of people there and it'll get quickly hot. So then moving on, we can see DHL has recently integrated the Internet of Things into its tracking and monitoring system. DHL was already one of the leading shipping companies in the world. They deal with worldwide express delivery, and recently they have made huge strides in their temperature control. They are now able to send out a truck that has only packages that are required to be shipped in the same temperature range, and so that allows them to be more energy efficient. And then also their tracking capabilities have recently gone to almost real-time tracking. You can almost, if you have a package being shipped through DHL, you can almost track it in real time and know exactly when it'll arrive, and that's just awesome for consumers because it allows them to just have an easier easier lifestyle. They don't need to wait at home the entire day or take a day off from work just because they're worried about their package not showing up or something like that. And then the last product that I want to talk about that's considered part of the Internet of Things is this Kohler Verdera Smart Mirror. I think this is really cool, and I included it because I can see myself using it. It has Amazon Alexa already integrated into it, and the most practical use for this, I think, is while you're showering, you could ask your mirror what the weather is going to be like, and it'll just read it off to you from whatever app you choose for it to read from, and it'll give you that information. You don't have to do it and waste time doing it yourself. You can do two things at once and truly multitask perfectly efficiently. So, moving on to what the Internet of Things looks like today, we can see that one of the biggest things is cloud computing. And we talked about this in class for a good amount, but I'll still give a quick explanation. So cloud computing is the idea that you can do all this work and work with all this data and these different files, and you don't need to save them on any hard disk of your own. You can upload them to the cloud, and you have basically the space in the cloud that you can use that allows you to share data with others as well. You don't have to email everybody and hope or worry about forgetting somebody on the email list or something like that. It allows you to share things with groups of people. And Google has really capitalized this with their Chromebooks. Chromebooks are laptops that are fairly inexpensive compared to other laptops. I have my Mac right in front of me, and I think this cost me a little bit over $1,000. Not entirely sure, but I know I just looked on the internet, and a Chromebook, I could buy one right now for like $200. That is a huge drop in price, and the biggest reason for that is that Chromebooks don't have a whole lot of hard storage on the actual computer itself. They use the cloud and access data that way. So that is something that Google is currently working with, and they're making developments in their Chromebooks as well. So we can see this as well in the Google Drive, which I just briefly talked about, but things like Google Docs, Google Slides, and Google Sheets are a clear replacement for your standard Microsoft suite. You don't need Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint or Excel or anything like that. It's all in the cloud, and it's all in the drive. You can access it all together. There's even a mail app that Google has that you don't even need to have a separate mail address. You can have everything all on one platform, all in one place. It's really convenient. I use the Google Drive for all of my schoolwork, and it helps me stay super organized and make sure that I get all my assignments done on time. So another thing that I've noticed, this is definitely more recent, but the lifestyle movement, you can go to the App Store on Apple or the Google Play Store on your Android, and you can look. There's a whole category dedicated to these lifestyle apps that are designed to help people live healthier lifestyles. And we can see this with the Fitbit and the Apple Watch. As they collect data from the user, they share it and transmit it wirelessly to your phone, where you have the app downloaded, and from there you can look at your stats on how much you walked that day, how many calories you burned, and things like that. So that all is centered around providing the consumer with a healthier lifestyle. And it's powered through the Internet of Things. So now we'll be talking about the positive and negative impacts of the Internet of Things on our lives. First, I'll cover the positives. So I talked about global connection earlier as one of the implications of the Internet of Things. Basically, global connection and cross-device communication together are completely operated nearly by sensors. So sensors take things that we would sense, let's say with your eyes or your nose or your ear, and it can turn it into digital data. So I could say something, record it through a microphone, and then it is now stored as a digital file that I can then send to somebody. So I don't even need to be in the same room or on the phone with somebody. I can record something, and it is saved forever, wherever I want to save it, whether it be in my drive on the Google Cloud platform or something like that. Also, Something that's really cool to me is infrared sensors. Those work with cameras. Our eyes can't see infrared light, but we can create sensors that can, and so that opens a whole new world to us. And the biggest implication of those is studying the cosmos. I think I've seen a lot of episodes where infrared sensors are being used to study the galaxies out there and looking at different things that we can't see with our own eyes. So that's also just really cool. So now moving on more towards the negatives, I could see how this can quickly lead to lazier lives for us as humans. I read an article where there's this alarm clock that when your alarm goes off and you turn it off, it starts your coffee pot. It starts brewing. You just load it up the night before, and it starts doing that. Who doesn't love the smell of coffee brewing in the morning? That helps you wake up too, and that just allows for just an easier lifestyle, but also a lazier lifestyle, which could be a positive or negative. And then this also leads more into the growing dependency on technology. Below, I have two pictures where boats crashed into bridges and caused either a lot of destruction or loss of life or injuries to people. So if a bridge is supposed to open at a certain time because a ship is going through at a certain time, and that's all integrated and together on one system, they can communicate with each other. If that bridge for some reason malfunctions, and that boat can't stop because it's already too close and going too fast, that can cause some problems, and we can see how that would have a very negative impact on society. And so as the Internet of Things is developed, obviously more safety measures and precautionary measures need to be developed as well so that we stay safe as people. So what does the future of Internet of Things look like? One quote that I pulled from a Forbes article written by Jacob Morgan was that anything that can be connected will be connected. And I think this really speaks to the attitude of developers everywhere who are trying to create new devices that can connect in different ways that allow for more ease of transfer of data and the overall just easier ability for people to connect and communicate with each other. And one of these things is known as smart cities. I saw this in a lot of my research that I did. On the screen you can see, just starting near the top, smart security, smart healthcare, smart home, smart education, smart building. You can keep going around. Everything has smart in front of it. And right now, I don't personally know where all of these things are going to go, but developers are looking into different things. Let's take shopping, for example. So pop-up notification, customer tracking, and smart analysis. These are some things that can overall create a better shopping experience for the consumer. And if let's say your fridge is connected to the internet, somehow it's an IoT, and it knows you're out of eggs, you go to the store and the store knows that you came in, it knows you're out of eggs, and it's right there for you. It makes sure it's restocked and everything you need is right there. So then the next thing is security concerns. This is one that I imagine a lot of people have and will continue to have. With the integration of everything being on your smartphone, there's an increased concern in the idea that if I lose my phone, I'm going to lose everything, because if somebody hacks my phone, they can get into anything. And this kind of goes along with the idea. I saw this article that talked about this idea of toaster hacking. So somebody can somehow hack into your toaster, and because it's connected to everything else in your home, will they be able to hack in everything else through that because they've gone into just one device? So privacy and data security are two things that we really need to watch out for and look at in the future to make sure that everybody's data is secure and that they are entitled, or they have that privacy that they are entitled to. So the next thing on this list of the future of the Internet of Things is big data education. So there's obviously a connection between big data and the Internet of Things. With all these new devices creating more and more data on a large scale, there's going to be an increase in data-focused education. And I have a personal story here. I noticed this a couple years ago. My mom sat down and talked to me about it, and I really bought into the idea of big data. And so this year I've added a second major to my studies, and that is analytics and enterprise systems, which really deals with a lot of this information and technology that is being developed and created through the Internet of Things. And then lastly, I touched on this earlier, but the seamless integration of technology. When everything is interconnected and on a single platform, let's say the cloud. So for Google, if they want to create some new program, all they have to do is set it up so that it can work on the cloud. And then when they introduce these new programs or even devices, it'll all be able to connect to that one single platform. So when new devices come out, they just program, the people that make them will program them to work on that platform. And if everybody's on that platform, that allows for more seamless communication and just a seamless integration of technology as a whole. So to recap and give a quick summary, we talked about what the Internet of Things is, and the definition I gave was that the Internet of Things is a collection of all devices with an on-off switch to the Internet, and it is a network of devices and people interconnected through the Internet. Then we moved into the brief history, where we talked about how ATMs were really the first device. Then we kind of got into GPS, and then in 2020 we have an estimated 50 billion devices connected through the Internet of Things. Then we moved into some products that use the Internet of Things or are included in the Internet of Things. Talked about the Nest thermostat, DHL's tracking and monitoring system that has been made better through the Internet of Things. And lastly, the Kohler Verdera smart mirror. We also talked about how that is integrated with Amazon Alexa, and all of these three products or ideas all allow the consumer to have a more enjoyable experience. Then we talked about Chromebooks and cloud computing and Google Drive and all of that, and the lifestyle movement. And then we moved into some positive impacts of the Internet of Things. And then we talked about the negative impacts. And then we moved into smart cities and talked about how that is all centered around creating a better experience for people and making the lives of everybody easier through all of these different sensors and different things that can be integrated throughout a city. Then we moved into security concerns and the idea of big data becoming a new or rising field of education. And then we went into the future integration of new products into this single platform. And then lastly, I have my references, which will be linked in the description of the video.